And hello. Okay, this is gonna be really awkward because I've never done one of these before. I always watched them, never done one, but hello. I am MG, and this is a quick little just walkthrough tutorial of how I do my paintings. I wanted to do one with a style that was kind of new to me, and I just thought, it'd be fun to kind of show how I do my process so that if anyone else is interested in getting into digital painting, they could find a way to start it. Or also just, to help me figure out my process and what I can improve on and how I work through things. And so I set myself that task, and yeah, that's what this is. I've been incredibly distracted already by just how shocking the first stages of the sketch were. But yeah, oh well, it works out. But yeah, if it's not obvious by the way that I did this, my usual background with painting is traditional. I usually use oils and canvas. I'm very fine art based, even though I'm, studying concept art right now and I do digital painting. I will always be a traditional painter at heart, which is why I always do it where I, go into Blender, make myself a reference, use that like I would if I was painting in real life, that kind of thing. I just think that's the best way to do it, and I like making the references myself, either taking photos of myself or others, or luckily with TF2 there's models you can get. I got the models off of this website called the Models Resource, something like that. I originally did it for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, but honestly the amount of models for TF2 on there are pretty good. Got 2 for off of it, but it completely smashed my laptop because I am doing this on my fucking dog ass laptop. But hey, it all works out. But yeah, ignore that, you saw nothing. But yeah, I don't really know what to say. It's a hard one. I did this today very quickly just because I wanted to, practice painting styles that are a lot less hard, because usually I base my painting style off oil paints. And while this still looks somewhat oily, I kind of want to give other styles a go. I saw a painting the other day, done digitally, that looked really, really like watercolour-esque, and honestly it was amazing. Which is why I started off using my watercolour brush, doing like a wash, because if you've never used oils before, the way you do it is you get tons of white spirit and you do a basic wash of the kind of base colour that you're going for, and then you usually sketch. At least that's what I do, because otherwise the wash gets rid of all the pencil marks. But yeah, just the best way to do it, really. Oh my god, I'm so sorry that this sounds so completely disjointed. I've never done anything like this before. But yeah, I was using a flat brush there. Photoshop actually has a really nice range of brushes, but yeah, I essentially did that and then went in with the Impressionist smudge tool. You can get them on the Adobe website. And just, went crazy on it. I like that though. It kind of reminds me of rusted metal, because you still got the little lines of like the rake. But yeah, very nice and pretty. I was really struggling with the anatomy for Archimedes there, so I just kind of remembered the little note that I'd written for myself right before I started, where it said, remember to sort about bird later, focus on scout first, slag. And yeah, did that. But either way, yeah, I don't know whether it's obvious, but I was trying to do a purple eye there, but kind of just made him look like he was winking somewhat. I mean, it's in character, I guess, but not really what I was attempting, but hey, works out in the end. Funnily enough, and this is always the case with digital paintings I find, is on the left you can see the little palette I did of the kind of rough colours I wanted to go off of, kind of like nice and muted, slightly warm. You kind of start with them and then you very quickly just dissolve into what works. I mean, very, very quickly I was like, oh well, don't really matter, and I just kind of went off piece. But again, you can't account for all the colours that you're going to want, and as you go, you just kind of end up creating more and more contrast, because if I was to stick with those colours, it would have been a very flat image, incredibly flat. And I think it's around about halfway through this video you start to see me just kind of throw all of that away and just go crazy on it. But yeah, took a quick rest break here. And yeah, I think I came back to this at like 3 hours later, and I just had another look at it and I was like, oh yeah, this is missing definition, because you can see me keep turning off the sketch to look at all the painting underneath, because usually I like to have no lines or lines that are kind of low opacity, so it just has the subtle effect but you can't notice them really. It adds a nice little bit of scratchy texture onto it. But yeah, this is just me, as I said earlier, adding a bit more contrast in. And I don't know how I managed it, because I did it without meaning to. That bit on the left side of his cheek, left as in viewers looking at it, all those beautiful colours, that little bit of blue, it's not even a blue, it's a grey, just at the bottom of the cheek, and then the bit of yellow on top, with a little bit of pink, like halo in it. I don't know how I managed that, but I'm in love with it. Also, the little bit of waterline just below the iris. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm in love with it, and my past self did a beautiful job doing that, and I'm very proud that I did it. But yeah, you can see me kind of build outwards here, but I am a massive sucker for just putting all my energy into like one specific place of the painting, and it looks beautiful and then I forget about everything else. And so I had to keep reminding myself, which honestly recording this was really good for. If you're struggling to focus on doing like a big long, like hours long session of drawing where it goes on for ages and you don't get distracted, record yourself, because you almost guilt yourself into taking it seriously, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't want, the camera to see me running off and going and playing a game of TF2, like that kind of thing. Really good at stopping me from doing that. But yeah, I think this was around the point where I realised that even though the Blender reference I had made didn't have it, I really wanted to add like a bounce light that was kind of nice and blue to go with the background, because I'd already kind of created that at the bottom of the cheek accidentally when I was adding detail and stuff. And I was like, that'll work. Let's do that a little bit more. Yeah, I think I'd already put it in. Sorry, I didn't catch that. I'm in a whole other zone at the moment, nattering on. Ignore that. But yeah, I think as soon I get to a point where I realise that the eyebrows are too light and I need to darken them up a little bit, but that'll come with time. I was trying to figure it out still. I still got to tackle the other eye that I completely neglected, even though it don't look like a black eye. But hey, we move. But yeah, I really liked this point in the painting because it was it reminded me of this other artist that I used to be obsessed with ages ago when I first got into TF2 properly. Because I was always kind of in it because, internet access when I was younger, you can't escape it if you're on the internet. But when I properly got into it, I remember there's this artist who did this really, really beautiful piece of a sniper at his van, and it's painted so well and the oranges in it are just stunning, and I was like, oh my god, I've got to be like that. And I don't think I've fully made it there yet, but I'm certainly on my way, hopefully, I imagine. But yeah, if you're wondering at all, because I do like to tell people what brushes I'm using, the main brush I use for everything and that I'm using here it's in Legacy Brushes. It's called like Light Oil Flat Tip, and I believe it's in wet media. But if you don't know how to turn on Legacy Brushes, all you got to do is go into your brushes, press a little settings option, and just press Legacy Brushes, and it'll say, do you want to do this? And you just say yeah. But yeah, I'm currently adding in more darker contrast, which, yeah, it needed to happen. That's the way that all paintings go. You just, you hit a point and you're like, everything's too light, everything's too washed out, everything's too pastel. You got to add a little bit of, into it. But yeah, I'm in love with that one eye I did. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, okay, it's time to admit something. I really struggled with that hand, and even the final product, I fucking hate the hand. Because what I was going for was almost like that kind of brushing the side of your cheek to get blood off with your thumb. But it was really hard to capture, and I don't know, I tried to, and I kind of was just like, it gets the point across well enough, I'll just leave it as it is. But if I could go back and change anything about the painting, that would be one of the main things I'd go back and change, alongside the perspective of the mouth, because I was going for my very like dramatic underbite, because I like giving all of the characters, you know, big underbites. I like making their mouths look ugly. I want them to look like, well, ugly is a bit mean. I want them to look grey and that kind of thing. And I almost went too dramatic with it, that it looks like he's either pouting or his mouth is on the side of his head, like Peppa Pig style. But either way, it works out. At least he doesn't look like a clatter or something. So, but yeah, it's a confusing one. But in the end, I think it works out. And yeah, I also completely got the proportions for his shoulder completely wrong here. I mean, I was trying to go for something where it was properly on the side, but it just didn't end up working out. And so I think later I end up just, you know, lasso tooling, pulling apart. But yeah, this was me trying to sort out the shadows a bit more, because as much as I love that part of the cheek, it's too light. And that really annoyed me, and I tried ignoring it for a really long time. But in the end, right at the end, I changed it all up. And yeah, if you see the colours flashing about, that is me going into hue saturation or Canberra raw or something and just mixed them about, trying to find if there's anything I need to change. I do it a lot with photo filter. Those can all be found in image adjustment if you don't know where they are. But yeah. God, I love that brush. Oh, I just love it so much. It's like, it's so clearly oil, but it almost looks pastel-y. And I love that, because I do like a drop of pastels. And then we hit that fucking bird. That fucking bird that I hate. I actually can't. I don't know how I managed to do this. And even the end product I don't like. Because I have to completely change the anatomy of the sketch I did. It's terrible. I don't even want to talk about it, really. But, hey, start with a wash, as I did. And then I realise the anatomy is truly shocking and I have to change it up again, and I go back to scalp, because I'm like, oh my god, I need a break. But yeah, I mean, when I did the Flight of Archimedes Virgin Birth painting, I found it easy to do the Archimedes, actually. I breezed through that. In fact, I think it was only like 10 brush strokes in total of me doing that, because it was so small. Which is, I think, what I struggled here the most. Because, you know, because you're so close up, and I was trying to go for something that's incredibly detailed and painted. Yeah, I hate painting birds. When I was going for something so close up, I couldn't skip out. Now, with my previous sniper painting, the difference between close and far, because I was going for such a blocky style, which I normally do, it's quite easy to do that, because the detail is just colour. You don't have to bother with, you know, how you do the stroke, because when you're doing it detailed like this, you have to do your brush stroke as if you're sculpting it. You have to follow the way the shape goes, that kind of thing. Here you got to think about that. And then it comes to this dog-ass bird, and it's just terrible. But either way, at this point it gets a bit better. I figure it out. I start, you know, adding more shadows, figuring out where the light's coming from. Pretty soon I think I had a nice touch of blue on the other end. You know, a la, you know, bounce light. But yeah, you can see me keep flicking back and forth, and I couldn't decide which side I prefer more. Whether it's the original side I sketched it from or the other one, but I always find stick with the original. No matter how good the other side looks, always stick with the original. You gotta trust yourself. But yeah, there we go. There's the bounce light. Beautiful. 10 out of 10. But yeah. Sorry, I'm flicking through the hue and saturation again. I love that rake brush. Truly beautiful. I bloody love it. I should have honestly done some of it on scalp, but it didn't really fit. Instead I used this other one. I can't remember the name of it. God, it's completely left my mind, but it's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I came back to it and I was like, oh, it's too the colours of the skin don't necessarily fit with the original colours that you would get in the game. So I colour picked from my reference, and I essentially just did like a subtle layer on top just to warm it up a little bit because he was looking slightly dead. And yeah, there we go. Then it became a matter of just, you know, finishing touches, anything else I wanted to add, making sure that if I make it black and white, whether the tones make sense, you know, because sometimes it's very easy to get lost between tones that are similar, just different colours. I remember someone giving me that piece of advice when I was doing, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was doing the Disco Elysium, cleaning out the rooms project. I remember posting my art there and this amazing person said, hey, make sure that, you know, your tonal ranges add up. And I was like, you know what? So true. And I've always stuck by that advice. But yeah, at this point, it's really just finishing touches. The main bulk of it's done. It's figuring out how to add the details I want to add. How do I do the blood? That kind of thing. Honestly, I'm still not happy with the blood. I wanted to make it a lot more bloody, but it's a hard one. You never know how much to do before it looks tacky, and you never know how vibrant to make it, and it's a hard one to do. I think that's honestly one of the main things I struggle with. The only time I didn't struggle with blood was... No, I don't struggle with blood. That makes me sound like I'm afraid of it. Struggle with painting blood. Only time I struggled with painting it, only time I haven't struggled with painting it, oh god, my words are going everywhere, was, again, the Flight of Archimedes Virgin Birth painting, because the blood was almost comical. It was silly. It was supposed to be almost kind of like, look at it. I found it funny when I posted it. There were people in the tags going, oh my god, this is so disturbing. And I was like, really? And I looked back at it and I was like, oh, hang on. Kind of. It was supposed to be just kind of like biblical and comical, which I'm surprised I didn't add any biblical references in this. Usually I do, but I think because it was just a painting practice, I just was kind of like, I'll do it for the next one. Which, again, I think my next painting is going to be the David and Goliath one I wanted to do, which you can guess who that's about. But yeah, then it was a matter of adding blood onto Archimedes. Always seems to have blood on him. Poor bugger. But yeah, it's really just finishing touches at this point. Yeah, not really much else to say at this point. It is literally just that final hour of a painting where you just change everything. You do a bunch of different versions. You kind of think, oh, are the proportions right? Like, you can see me go in a bit and lift up the nose a little bit because it's slightly down too low. And Scout has a nice little kind of punchy little nose. Same with the eyes. The eye proportions were terrible and I had to go in and alter them. And they still kind of are, but when you've finished a painting this much, it is hard to go back. I really should have done it with a sketch, but I always struggle with sketches because mine are so, you know, pencil-y. It's hard to tell. I'm completely envious of people who do proper nice sketches and all that. Yeah, this is me trying to make it more like a sky, but then it didn't work. So I just went back to my lovely little thing there. I don't know, it works out. Weirdly enough, the painting reminds me of something and I can't remember what. What does it remind me of? Oh, it'll come back to me later, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, adding my nice little tag. Ooh, spoilers for all my past work and a little meet the artist I was going to try and do, even though that failed. But yeah, there we go. Lifting it up, then trying to connect the dots. I never even, if you look at the finished image, the dots still aren't connected very well, but it does the job. You know, I'm sure people aren't picking out that and going, you didn't connect it properly. It don't fucking matter. Twitter, Tumblr, they destroy the quality anyway, so, hey. Oh well. But yeah. Yeah, I really struggled with that little bit highlight in the corner of the nose. Oh well. But yeah, finally made the eyebrows darker. Thank fuck. Taking forever to get to that point. It was been bothering me this whole time I've been watching it back, but hey, we made it. And we're finally at the end, I think, soon. Let me take a quick peek. Oh, yeah, only a couple seconds away. Yeah, I was just fiddling around with the colours in Camera Raw. There we go. I did another edit of the colours before I did the final product, make it look a bit more... Still got the contrast, but just slightly lighter, and yeah. I'm sorry this was so rambly, but I hope that maybe this helped if you want to get into digital painting, and I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.